One of the very first financial videos I ever made was a financial analysis on the company of Ahold Delhaize. And this analysis included all the past 10 years of performance for this company. Now recently, Ahold Delhaize has published their 2022 annual report. So I think what we'll do is we'll have a look at the projection here, and then we'll have a look at the actual numbers that Ahold posted this year. So in 2021, they posted a net sales of about 75 billion with an EBITDA of 6.3. So based on that 10-year history of 10% growth annually, to be a bit more conservative, I gave them 8% growth for the first 5 years and 6% for the last 5 years. So now let's have a look at their annual report here and let's see exactly what they did. So in their fiscal year of 2022, they posted a net sales of 87 billion as opposed to 75 billion the year prior. This is a proper 15% increase in their revenue, in their net sales, and they've absolutely blown my projections out of the water. Their EBITDA has come up to 7.1 billion, where it was 6.3 billion just a year prior. This is an increase of 13%. Now, again, I gave them 8% growth because I want to be a bit more conservative, but they've actually beaten their own historic numbers. They've beaten their own trajectory. So the 2022 numbers here for Ahold were absolutely astounding. Another thing that I want to have a look at here is the amount of shares outstanding, because of course Ahold Delhaize is continuously buying back shares. So let's have a look exactly at the amount of common shares outstanding. So we see here 2023 977 million, whereas the year prior it was just over 1 billion. So they bought back about 40 million shares from the open market and just ripped them up in your favor. One last thing that I want to have a look at before I insert some of these numbers into my spreadsheet is to have a look at their cash flow statement. So let's have a look at their consolidated statement of cash flow. Let's have a look here. We'll just go down a little bit, see if we can find it. Income, balance sheet, equity, cash flows. Their cash flow from 2022 was 6.3 billion, and here in 2000. So looking at the net cash from operations here, we can see about 5.5 billion in the fiscal year of 2021, and we see 6.1 billion in the fiscal year of 2022. A very nice 10% increase in cash flow. We also see that the capital expenditure has only grown by about, give or take, 4 or 5%. So this means that their margins are very much increasing. And then we'll have a look at their investing activities. Of course, this is the place where they issue things like the dividends that they pay, as well as the share buybacks that they do. And we see it's a proper 50-50 split when it comes to capital allocation. We also see that they have some increase in leases. Of course, because of the inflation that's been rising for the past year, we do see some increased lease prices. But of course, this also implies that Ahold is probably expanding their operations. They're opening up new storefronts, which require additional leases. So this is a cost that they will always have to make every single year in order to keep their operations running, in order to actually have a storefront where you can buy your groceries at. So let's put all these numbers into a new calculation. Let's put all of these numbers into a new spreadsheet. So quickly looking here at 2021, I expected them to have 6.8 billion in EBITDA here in 2022. Now if I take a look at my 2022 spreadsheet, where I already inserted all of these numbers, like the cash flow, like the EBITDA, like the net sales, we can see that they actually posted an EBITDA of 7.1 billion here in 2022, as opposed to the 6.8 that I gave them in my projection. So again, they completely blew my projection out of the water. So let's take this new number as a staging ground. Let's take this new number as ground zero and keep on projecting their numbers from here. Of course, their overall growth for the past 10 years now has increased to 11.5% as opposed to 10.4% because of this absolutely amazing number here of 2022. Of course, you have to realize this is mostly influenced as well by them attributing inflation costs directly to their consumer again. So I actually don't expect them to keep on growing by 13% every single year. So I'm still going to give them that 8% forecast for the first 4 years and then 6% for the last 4 years. As you notice, I'm now projecting 9 years into the future as opposed to 10, because I want to show you exactly what happens to the share price. So 86 euros here for the 2021 model. And if we now have a look at the updated version, so where I expect an EBITDA in 2031 of 13 billion, whereas opposed to the 2021 I expected 12.5. So of course this increase in earnings will also result in an increase of share price. So based on these projections, I now expect a 95 euros share price in 2031. So because they've beaten my expectations, I now will upgrade their share price projection for 2031. I'm also going to do the same here for the free cash flow model, because I expected them to earn, let's have a quick look again. 2022 I expected €1.70 in cash flow, and what they actually posted here was €2.24. Leaps and bounds above what I had projected for them. So again, they beat my projections fair and square. So now to continue the trend of 8% growth, looking at these numbers here, I now expect a share price in 2031 based on the free cash flow model of about 69 euros, whereas with the last projection I expected 52. So they've greatly increased their free cash flow per share, which greatly increases their share price projection, at least based on my models. So the share price hasn't really moved all that much actually. We can see here 2022 they had a share price of 27.9%, which gave them an 8% yield. And also looking at their enterprise value to EBITDA model, we can see a EV/EBITDA ratio of 5.4, which is quite low looking at their all-time history. So I definitely think the share price that they had on December 31st was quite nice here, 27 euros and 90 cents. I think was a very attractive buy price. Of course, at this point the price has moved up a little bit. I think it's currently sitting at 31 euros, so I'm going to put in this number here, and based on both of my projections here, I expect an average share price in 2031 of 82 euros and 18 cents. This gives me a compounding annual growth rate on the stock market itself of about 10%, but the moment that we include the dividends that we expect to receive as well, all the share buybacks, all the free cash flow that they can spend on rewarding their shareholders, I expect an IRR of about 20%, and I think this is very, very attractive. Of course, I do assume that their multiples are increasing to 8 times, even though in 2022 they've been at 5.4 times and historically they've been at 6 times. But I do think that this is quite undervalued for a massive grocery chain like Ahold, so I expect their multiples to come up and be more in line with other American competitors, because of course they're operating, a large part of them is operating in America. These are also the same multiples that I gave in my 2021 projection. So just to give you a proper one-to-one comparison here, I'm not going to change any of these numbers. We can see here for our previous projection, I expected an IRR of 16.4%, whereas right now with the current share price and the current growth, I expect an IRR of 19.7. So I think Ahold is a very attractive. It's also a very big part of my portfolio because I very much believe in Ahold. They're not just a grocery chain, they also have drugstores, they have alcohol stores, and they also own the biggest web shop in the Netherlands. So of course there's also quite some additional growth aspects to this company. So yeah, this was just a quick update on Ahold Delhaize, looking at their recent numbers from 2022 and see exactly what we can predict based on these numbers. In my opinion, Ahold has only become more attractive since this time, so let's see exactly what will happen here in the future. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio!